Welcome to this deep dive from Demet in Dubai. Demet, that's pronounced Demeti, by the way, is a McKinsey alumni sharing her experience. And this session is really designed to help guide you in your investment journey right here in Dubai.
Yeah, Demet breaks it down nicely. She says investing here has like three core parts. First, pick your location. Second, find the absolute best, maybe unique asset in that spot. And third,
And this is the big one for today. Select the
yeah,
developer.
exactly, that's our focus. We're diving deep into understanding how you position these developers. And look, the reason this is so important is just the sheer scale of things here.
It's pretty wild, isn't it?
It really is. You've got over 150 developers active right now. And they're launching new projects, get this, on average, every 19 hours.
Every 19 hours. That's unbelievable.
It is. The market's booming, no doubt. It's dynamic, it's fast. But with that much happening so quickly, it's not just helpful, it's absolutely essential for you, the investor, to figure out, okay, which developer is right for which kind of project, what's their real track record, and fundamentally, how do you position them against each other, and more importantly, against your specific investment plan.
Navigating over 150 developers launching projects almost daily. I mean, that sounds like trying to find your way through a maze blindfolded, maybe. How do you even start?
Well, that's where a framework really helps. And you're right, Matt, with that McKinsey background, she definitely loves a good framework to bring some clarity.
Huh, I bet. So, based on the sources we have, what kind of framework are we talking about?
It's a pretty useful two-axis approach, actually. Helps simplify things about.
Okay, two axes. Let's break them down. What's the first one?
So the first axis is all about the developer type. Think of it like this. On one hand, you have the master community builders. These are the really big players. They don't just put up a tower, they create whole neighborhoods.
You mean with all the roads, parks, maybe schools, that kind of stuff?
Exactly. All the infrastructure, the amenities, they literally shape the environment of a whole area. Think Emaar, Damak, Nakheel, Meraas, Sobha for their big communities too, Dubai properties, Kilal Al Ghaf. Yeah, those are the names that come up.
Got it. They're like the city shapers. Okay, what's the second axis?
The second axis is about market positioning, or, the market segment they target. This looks at who they're building for price point, quality level, the whole offering. We can sort of break it down into four main chunks.
Key first segments.
Yeah. At the very top, you've got ultra luxury. Then comes affordable luxury, or you might call it premium. Below that is the middle segment. And then at the base, the entry segment, sometimes called mass affordable.
Okay, so developer type master community versus, I guess, individual buildings. And then market segment, ultra luxury, affordable luxury, middle, and entry. That does help put some structure on it.
It does. But it's really important to understand this isn't like a perfect, rigid grid where everyone fits neatly in one box and stays there.
Ah, okay. So it's not fixed.
Not at all.
Huh.
The sources talk about porosity developers often play in multiple segments at once, or they might move between them over time. You could see a developer known for, say, entry-level stuff suddenly launch an ultra-luxury tower. Or someone known for single buildings might decide they want to build a whole master community.
Right, so it's dynamic, things shift,
Yeah.
like Binghatti moving up, or Azizi maybe wanting to do master community.
Exactly like that.
Yeah.
Binghatti is a prime example, starting affordable and now doing Bugatti residences. Azizi and Select Group are mentioned as potentially wanting to move into master planning. So, yeah, lots of movement.
But the framework is still useful as a starting point.
Absolutely. Even with that flexibility, this framework gives you a vital lens. It helps you see a developer's usual playground, understand their main strengths, their typical strategies, and then evaluate how a specific project they're launching fits into that bigger picture. Our mission here really is to pull out the key insights from the sources we've got, use this framework, and give you that clearer understanding. Help you make a smarter choice in this incredibly fast market.
Okay, great. Before we dive into the framework specifics, let's just quickly paint a picture of the market itself. Why is this understanding so critical right now?
Good point. The market's been on a tear. The sources show really significant growth since 2021. Price per square foot, way up.
How much are we talking?
Well, in some hotspots, it's over 37% growth in just 3 years. And across the board, average apartment price growth is around 36% in that same time frame.
Wow. Okay, those are serious numbers. That definitely fuels the fire.
It absolutely does. And that's why you see the 150 plus developers, the project launches every 19 hours. It's all connected. But that sheer volume, that speed creates a real challenge for you as an investor. How do you, cut through the noise? How do you tell what's real value versus just marketing hype?
And I guess with so much being built so fast, quality must be a concern sometimes. Does it always match the price tag?
That's a key point the sources touch on. There's a historical angle.
Yeah.
Back in the early 2000s, boom, there was a real focus on quality, setting a high bar. But then, in a later period, maybe 2016 to 2021, the sources suggest quality sometimes took a back seat, even in supposedly prime areas like downtown or Business Bay. Finishes might not have quite matched the expectation or the price.
Okay, so a bit inconsistent historically.
A bit, yeah. But the positive trend noted now is a swing back towards quality. You see it especially in the ultra-luxury segment. Developers are actively bringing in top-tier contractors
Yeah.
known for high standards. Quality is becoming a major differentiator again.
Which loops right back to choosing the right developer, doesn't it?
Perfectly. It's not just about jumping on a location trend or buying the flashiest new launch. You need to understand who's behind it, their actual track record on quality, on delivery. Not just the pretty pictures in the brochure.
All right, let's get back to that framework then. Axis 1. Developer type. You mentioned the master community builders, Emaar, Damak, Nakheel, Meraas, Sobha for their communities, Dubai Properties, Talal Al Ghaf. Who's on the other side? The ones mostly doing individual buildings.
Oh, that list is much longer, which tells you something about the market structure. The sources throw out a lot of names here. People like Binghatti, Ellington, Imtiaz, Select Group, Azizi, Danube, Tiger. Also Sol, Wassel, Mag, Dar Global, H&H, Omniyat, Nishama, East and West, Empire Development. Aldar gets mentioned sometimes for comparison, and Amal Emirates is a newer player. It's a crowded field.
Okay, a real mix. Now, Axis 2, market positioning. Let's start at the very top. Ultra luxury. What's the vibe there, and who are the main players according to the sources?
Ultra luxury. The sources say this is maybe 5% of the market. And it's less about just buying an apartment or villa and more about buying an experience.
An experience. How so?
It's about total exclusivity. Top-of-the-line materials, bespoke services, maybe unique amenities you won't find elsewhere. And the locations are often incredibly prime or just plain exclusive private beaches. Islands like Palm Jumeirah or Dubai Islands, the best spots in downtown. It targets a very specific, very high-end global clientele.
And the prices reflect that, I imagine.
Oh, definitely. The sources mention price points like $6,000, $8,000, even higher per square foot in some of these prime ultra-luxury spots. It's directly tied to that trend of millionaire migration to Dubai.
So big potential returns, but high stakes.
Exactly. High potential, especially if you get an off-plan with leverage. But you have to pick the right product and the right developer known for delivering that exceptional quality and exclusivity. Location is important, sure, but in this segment, the specific building and the developer's reputation are paramount.
So who are the names that really stand out in this ultra-luxury space?
Omniyat comes up a lot. They're known for being quite niche, focusing on super high-quality, distinct projects. Sources mention their work in Maritime City, their link with the Dorchester Collection brand, projects in Business Bay, and this ambitious Beyond by Omniyat concept with a tropical jungle theme.
A jungle, wow.
Yeah, sounds unique. And importantly, they partnered with Select Group on the Six Senses residence on the Palm. That's a huge ultra-luxury branded residence project.
Interesting partnership. Select Group isn't only ultra-luxury, are they?
No, they operate more broadly, but this shows they can deliver at that absolute top tier, especially in partnership. It highlights that porosity again. Another name mentioned as top of the top is H&H.
H&H, what's their focus?
Ultra-qualitative, super high-end, really targeting an exclusive clientele. The sources point to projects like the Four Seasons Residencies, Eden House, both near the Canal Dubai Harbor residence, and Peninsula. They emphasize the experience aspect, like the views and lifestyle at Dubai Harbor.
Okay. You mentioned Meraas as a master community builder earlier. Do they play in ultra-luxury too?
They do. They've created these really desirable communities like Jumeirah Islands, Blue Waters, City Walk. But they also have specific ultra-luxury projects like Zelaya at J1 Beach. So, again, crossing boundaries, leveraging their community skills for high-end offerings.
And Nakheel, obviously huge with Palm Jumeirah.
Nakheel is foundational, really. Palm Jumeirah, the World Islands, they defined large-scale luxury waterfront living in Dubai. Now they're developing Dubai Islands, and the sources mentioned are apparently selling units there quite aggressively to fund the next big one, Palm Jebel Ali. That's expected to be another major ultra-luxury destination.
So Nakheel's legacy continues. What about Emaar?
Emaar, while their bread and butter is maybe more affordable luxury, is definitely pushing into ultra-luxury too. The Oasis project is mentioned, a luxury villa community focused on green space and lagoons, still early stages. It shows their ambition to capture that top segment, leveraging their brand and community building skill.
Any other key names in ultra-luxury?
Yeah, Dar Global gets a mention. They've done the Urban Oasis by Missoni in Business Bay and the W Residence downtown, blending luxury apartments with hotel services.
Yeah.
And East and West is noted for using branded partnerships effectively, like 25-hour Residence with Accor, Ceresis Residence, Rixos Residence. It really shows how crucial branding is at this level.
It definitely sounds like a competitive space, driven by that high net worth demand. Lots of focus on brand, experience, exclusivity.
For sure. Okay, moving down slightly to the next tier, affordable luxury or the premium segment. What's the focus here?
So this is still high quality, good locations, but maybe not quite the stratospheric price points of ultra luxury.
Exactly. It's about offering that premium feel, quality finishes, desirable lifestyle, but for a broader, though still affluent audience. Quality is still really important here.
And who are the key developers known for operating strongly in this space?
Sobha really stands out in the source material for this segment. They get consistent praise for premium quality, really meticulous attention to detail. A big reason for this is their vertical integration.
Right, you mentioned that. They build their own stuff.
Pretty much. They have their own construction arm. This gives them huge control over the process, the materials, the timelines, and the result. The sources say Sobha projects are often delivered on time, sometimes even early, and the quality is consistently high. That makes them a very reliable bet if build quality and delivery time are your top priorities.
Where are their projects typically?
Places like Sobha Artland, Sobha 1, Sobha Heartland 1 and 2 are mentioned, often located strategically near areas like downtown or Creek Harbor. And the feedback is that residents genuinely like living there, which translates into good rental yields. The sources quote figures like 6% to 7.8%.
That's solid for rentals. Any downsides noted for Sobha?
Well, that quality comes at a price. Their properties generally have a higher price per square foot compared to others in the market. And historically, for some projects like maybe Heartland 1, the capital appreciation might have lagged the wider market average during certain boom times. But the trade-off is that consistent quality, reliability, and strong rental performance. It's seen as a solid, maybe more conservative choice.
Okay, quality focus, good rentals, potentially higher entry price. Makes sense. Who else is big in affordable luxury?
Emaar, of course. We touched on them. While they dabble in ultra-luxury, their core strength and massive portfolio are right here. They're masters at creating these integrated, desirable communities. And their brand power, especially with the address hotels and residences, is huge.
They don't just sell apartments, they sell the whole Emaar lifestyle, right? The community, the amenities, the mall.
Precisely. They create value through master planning. Think downtown the Dubai Mall isn't just a mall. It anchors the whole area, drives value. Their address projects, like Address Downtown or Skyview, have historically performed really well, both in value and rentals. They also partner up, like with Neshama, on the Address Grand Downtown, which had larger, more luxurious units. Their semi-governmental status also gives them significant clout.
Another name that comes up frequently for quality here is Ellington.
Yes, Ellington gets consistently good marks in the sources for maintaining high standards. They're known for really visually appealing designs, smart layouts that use space well, and just a general focus on quality details.
What makes Ellington stand out?
Their reputation for quality is strong in the market, and they seem quite adept at building successfully even within other developers' master communities, like in Dubai Hills where they have Ellington House. Their track record shows good appreciation too. Wilton Park up 57%, Wilton Terraces 37% over 3 years, solid growth in the Shas community projects too.
So, proven quality and value growth. Anything else?
They're noted for having reasonable payment plans, and importantly for some investors, they often allow short-term rentals like Airbnb, which isn't a given with all developers. Current projects mentioned include Ellington Cove and Dubai Islands, which is a bet on beachfront growth, plus projects in JLT like Altiera Heights and Upper House. They're seen as quite predictable, delivering a consistent, high-standard product.
Okay, reliable, quality-focused. And what about Select Group in this segment?
Select Group is highlighted for being very deliberate. They seem to focus on quality over just pumping out volume. They don't launch as often as some others, but when they do, the sources suggest the projects are well located, well designed, and show consistently high quality, often at quite competitive prices within this premium band.
So, a more measured, quality-first approach.
Seems to be their strategy. They're seen as reliable with a strong presence in places like Business Bay and Dubai Marina. And as we mentioned, their partnership with Omniyat on the ultra-luxury Six Senses shows they can operate at the highest level, complementing their solid reputation in affordable luxury.
Great overview of that premium segment. Now, let's move to the middle segment. What's the positioning here, and who are the typical developers?
The middle segment is really about finding that balance, decent quality, at a more accessible price point than the luxury tiers. Projects are often in areas that are maybe still developing or established, but not prime, or just well-connected without that top-tier address premium. Value for money is a big factor.
Okay, balancing act. Who fits here?
Imtiaz is mentioned for offering a good quality-to-price ratio. While some of their projects might lean towards the affordable end, the sources suggest that depending on the specifics, the finishes, the amenities, some can definitely push into that affordable luxury category. So another example of that segment blurring.
And Binghatti, we talked about them moving up, but their roots are here.
Yeah, Binghatti is often placed here historically, known for those distinctive buildings, often with the orange accents in older projects in areas like JDC, Arjan, Dubai Land Residence Complex. They started affordable middle.
But now they're aiming much higher.
Absolutely. They're a key example of developer evolution. They're launching these huge branded projects, the Jacob & Co. Tower, aiming over 550 meters, the Bugatti Tower. So while their earlier stuff was seen as good value for its segment, they're now competing in a totally different league. It really shows that porosity.
And their vertical integration helps them move fast.
That's noted, yes. Similar to Sobha, having their own construction helps with speed. They often start selling, apparently, when construction is already underway, which can mean faster delivery times compared to starting from scratch.
Interesting. Who else is prominent in the middle segment?
Damac is a big one here, mainly because of their huge master communities like Damac Hills and Damac Lagoon. They offer townhouses, villas, often at significantly lower price points than you'd find for more luxury-focused developers for similar property types.
What's the feedback on Damac in the sources?
It's a bit mixed, honestly. They acknowledge Damac's scale and the investment potential due to competitive pricing, especially for rentals. But the sources also mentioned potential inconsistencies in the quality of finishes across their massive portfolio, and they do have a reputation for potential delivery delays. So, it's a trade-off. Big scale, lower entry points, but maybe some risks on consistency and timing.
So need to weigh the pros and cons carefully with Damac.
Seems so. They're a major private developer, also big on branding Cavalli, de Grisogano, and create niche projects within their communities too. Others mentioned in this middle ground, especially active in areas like Business Bay, are DR and SOL.
What about Mag Group?
MAG is noted for projects in Business Bay and downtown. They get a specific mention for focusing on sustainability and wellness, though apparently it's not always heavily marketed. Generally seen as having good resale and rental potential due to location.
And Wassel Group.
Wassel is described as having a really diverse portfolio residential, commercial. They're often in good locations, and the sources highlight attractive payment plans, sometimes with very low down payments, like just 5%, seen as creating solid rental hubs and being a reliable, steady developer.
Okay, that covers the middle segment well. Finally, let's look at the entry segment, or mass affordable.
Right, this segment is all about accessibility. Lower price points per square foot are the main driver, targeting first-time buyers, maybe people with smaller budgets. Projects are usually in areas still under development or where land costs are lower.
Which areas typically fall into this category?
Areas like Arjan, JVC, the Dubai Land Residence Complex come up frequently. These are often described as areas in development, meaning the infrastructure, the shops, the parks might still be catching up.
And the key developers focusing here.
Danube is a big name in this space. Projects mentioned are in JLT, Arjan, even Dubai Islands. It's worth noting, though, one source specifically called out observing pressure selling tactics associated with Danube and mentioned a project called Diamonds. So, buyer beware, do your homework.
Pressure selling. Yeah, definitely something to watch out for. Who else?
Azizi is another major player here, known for huge projects like Riviera in Maidan. And as we mentioned, while known for buildings in this segment, the sources suggest Azizi has ambitions for master community projects, showing that desire to scale up.
So even entry-level focused developers can have big plans.
Absolutely. And Azizi's also behind the planned Burj Azizi, aiming to be the world's second tallest tower. It shows how even developers rooted in affordability can launch these high-profile, high-risk mega projects.
And Tiger, also doing a megatall.
Yes, Tiger is positioned kind of between entry and middle segments, and they're also planning a megatall, the Tiger Sky Tower, around 532 meters. So that trend cuts across developer segments.
Lastly, Nishama.
Nishama is mainly known for Town Square, described as an affordable, family-oriented master community. The sources do note, however, that price growth there has been relatively slow, like 6% apartment price growth since 2021, compared to the 36% market average. But again, showing range, Nishama partnered with Emaar on the very high-end address Grand Downtown.
So a master community builder in the entry segment, but capable of going high-end in partnership.
Exactly. It just reinforces that these categories are guides, not rigid boxes. Each project needs looking at.
Now, you made a point earlier about quality being crucial even in these affordable segments, especially in developing areas like Arjan or Dubai land. Why is that so critical?
It's absolutely vital because if you invest in a property with poor build quality, especially in an area that's still developing, it might really struggle to hold its value. The sources warn about bad quality properties that don't sell. They might be hard to rent out, difficult to resell, maybe even depreciate. For someone putting their life savings in, that's a huge risk. So even at lower price points, choosing a developer with a reputation for decent quality is essential to protect your investment.
So the framework helps map the landscape, master community versus individual builder across ultra-luxury, affordable luxury, middle, and entry. And we see how developers fit, but also move around.
Exactly. And having this structured view is so powerful because, like Demet said up front, picking the developer is just as critical as location and asset type. Understanding their typical game helps you align your own goals. Are you after maximum capital growth, stable rent, just affordability, with a developer whose track record fits?
Okay, let's pivot slightly. Let's talk more about the strategies these developers use and, crucially, the risks investors need to watch out for.
Sure. Strategy-wise, we've seen Emaar's genius in creating whole desirable worlds, generating that rarity premium. We've seen Sobha and Binghatti using vertical integration for quality control, Sobha, and speed, Binghatti, often leading to timely delivery.
Ellington focuses on consistent quality and design, building brand reputation that way, select group, that quality over quantity approach.
Right. Damac's strategy is about scale and accessibility, opening up villa townhouse ownership at lower price points, despite those caveats on consistency and delays.
Yeah.
And then there's the huge trend of branded residences.
Ah, yes. Bugatti, Jacob & Co., Fendi, Missoni, Address, Six Senses, Rixos. What's the play there?
It's a major strategy to add perceived value, attract global buyers who recognize the luxury brand. But the sources also offer a caution. Sometimes it feels a bit like an NFT market version immobilier, where the hype and the brand name, maybe even down to the Fendi cushions, are used to inflate prices beyond the property's core value.
So the brand adds appeal, but you need to look past the label at the actual real estate.
Exactly. Due diligence is key. Another strategy is launching sales after construction starts, like Binghatti does, to offer faster delivery. And of course, payment plans are fundamental in Dubai. Those 70-30, 60-40 plans, sometimes post-handover options, they offer massive leverage. Definitely a defining feature. But what about the risks? What should investors really keep front of mind? A big one highlighted is megatall towers. Those record-breaking projects like Burj Azizi, Binghatti's Jacob & Co., Tiger Sky Tower.
They generate huge buzz, promising the ultimate in luxury.
They do. But the sources warn, hype versus reality. Returns might not meet expectations, quality or finishes could be compromised. There are historical precedents sometimes discussed. And the construction itself.
Incredibly complex, I imagine.
Hugely. Complex engineering, reliance on advanced tech, needs perfect coordination. Delays are almost expected. We're talking potential year-long delays, major design changes, even projects stalling indefinitely, like the Dubai Creek Tower example. That's a massive risk if you're banking on a timeline.
Wow. Okay, so megatalls come with mega risks.
Pretty much. Beyond that, the core risk across all segments is just developer reliability. Can they build quality? Can they deliver on time? The sources hammer this home. Choose developers with a solid track record. Good developers deliver. It's your best insurance against delays and defects.
What about the market bubble talk?
What gets mentioned? But the counterargument presented is, as long as fundamental demand keeps rising and Dubai has ambitious population growth targets, prices can keep going up. The market has corrected before, but the long-term view offered is that patient investors usually win.
So acknowledge the risk, but weigh the demand fundamentals.
Yes, but separate from a market-wide bubble is the very real risk of buying a poorly built property that just sits there, can't sell, can't rent well, loses value.
Yeah.
That's why quality checks are vital, especially for investors who aren't super wealthy.
Which leads back to that information asymmetry. The hype can obscure the reality.
Right. Understanding the actual quality, the real track record, the location fundamentals. That's crucial. This is where getting expert advice, people with data and insights beyond the marketing gloss, can make a huge difference.
And the changing landscape itself is a factor. Developers evolving, moving segments.
Means you can't just rely on past reputation alone. You have to assess each new project on its own merits, see how it fits the developer's current strategy.
Other things noted. The trend towards smaller unit sizes, some as small as 50 centimeters, which one source suggested might impact long-term value. And while prices are up, those high entry points in prime spots might mean future capital growth is slower there compared to developing areas like Dubai Land or Arjan with more room to grow percentage-wise.
Also, with payment plans, remember developers known for early delivery like Sobha might require final payments sooner than you think. And finally, the regulatory environment DLD, RERA, escrow accounts offers protection more than in the past. Though big developers often self-finance, which shows strength but might change the oversight dynamic slightly.
Okay, bringing this all together for the listener's investment journey, it's clear that picking the right developer isn't just step 3. It's a critical pillar, right alongside location and the asset itself.
Absolutely. And using that framework developer type and market segment gives you a way to structure your thinking, evaluate the options beyond just the hype. It helps you match a developer's strengths and track record with what you actually want to achieve with your investment.
In a market this crowded and fast-paced, that structured approach seems essential. It's about reliability, quality, strategy, not just chasing the latest trend.
And, the complexity and speed strongly suggest that working with experienced advisors, people with real data and insights who can tailor advice to you, can be incredibly valuable in making that informed decision.
So, to wrap up this deep dive, Dubai's property market is incredibly active, full of opportunities from a huge range of developers playing across different scales and segments.
And navigating it successfully means understanding who these developers are, using our framework to grasp their positioning, their strategies, their track records on quality and delivery. That's the key takeaway.
We've also seen how dynamic it is. Developers aren't static. They evolve. They blur the lines between categories.
Definitely. So, given that pace of change, the focus on ultra-luxury, the rise of branded residences, the constant innovation, here's maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to ponder. As these lines keep blurring between master builders and single project guys, between luxury and affordable segments, how might this change the investment landscape even further? What totally new kinds of opportunities or maybe even new challenges could emerge as the market and its players continue to evolve?
Something to definitely keep an eye on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.